Hey everyone, it's Kristen. So we're gonna get straight into it. This is part two of obviously Galactus. He was our 100th stamp in the stamp calendar series. So in the first video, I talked about how Galactus, Silver Surfer, Galactus had decided he was gonna siphon energy off of living beings instead of planets, and so Silver Surfer turned his own energy siphoning machines against him, and he died. And what happened though, by killing Galactus, that creates a problem because, like I said, he's a kind of a being of a balance. Like he brings balance to the universe. He's a necessary evil, so to speak. So what happens is by his death, that causes Abraxas to be born from or to emerge from Eternity's heart, and he wants to use the ultimate nullifier to destroy thousands of universes slash dimensions slash alternate realities slash everything, basically. And Franklin Richards and Valeria use pretty much almost all their power in order to bring Galactus back so that they can stop Abraxas. Whew, yeah, I mean, crazy story, but like I said, everyone dies at some point, even Galactus. So, oh, there's Dazzler. I don't know if she's gonna jump on the table. Come here, kitty. Come on. Come on. Okay, well, she's sitting in this chair right now. Oh, you might be able to see her ears. I don't know. I don't think she's going to join us. Anyway, so Galactus tries to curb his hunger by eating Infinity Stones, but unfortunately, that doesn't even work. And this alien race figures out how to turn their planets invisible so that Galactus can't even see the planet. Like, if he can't see it, then he can't consume it. So they're like, hey, we're pretty clever. Like, we got this figured out. Galactus forces Johnny, Human Torch, who actually, weirdly enough, has his sister's powers at this point. So he's known as the Invisible Boy. Forces him to be his new herald. And Reed and the rest of the Fantastic Four and Quasar rescue him, and by turning Galactus into his humanoid form, Galen, and he actually exiles himself so that before he turns into Galactus, so he can't do any more harm. So, and at some point, he actually consumes Corin, which is the home planet of Beta Ray Bill, and later he feels really bad about it, so he makes a female companion, a female Coronite for Beta Ray Bill, and he has a new herald at this point, Stardust, and she is pretty ruthless. I mean, she's an internal, which is kind of basically an energy being. She's mostly just made up of energy, and she actually, people are trying to flee the planet. When they see Galactus, they're like, oh my gosh, Galactus, we better get out of here, he's gonna eat our planet. She kills them. She's like, nope, you're not escaping. Nope, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're all dead. She doesn't let anyone escape. And Galactus, he kind of doesn't really care. He's not going to scold her, but he's not going to encourage her. He's just like, it is what it is, she's my herald. She's leading me to this planet. I'm going to feed. People are, just collateral damage. So, and then we have the Annihilus wave, which we talked about before, I know. And so I'll just briefly go over it again. So Silver Surfer and Galactus get captured by Annihilus, or the Annihilation Wave, and he's like a ruler of the negative zone, um, captures them, and he actually hands them over to Thanos for like his experiments or whatever he wants to do with them. Drax frees Silver Surfer, who in turn frees Galactus, who in turn is super pissed. Like, he is super mad that he has gotten captured, that, Thanos was going to use him in that way. So he destroys half of Annihilus's forces, which helps basically the heroes win the war. I mean, just to destroy like almost half or more than half of the enemy's forces. I mean, you gotta give him props for that. that's pretty amazing. And then we have this story where a Silver Surfer finds Galactus's body. It's his dead body, like underneath New York City, and reads like, "Oh yeah, that's Galactus from the future. These heroes from the future, they killed Galactus and then fled here, and they're living on a planet called New Earth, like NU, not NEU, or NEW." And Galactus finds out about this, and he is mad. Like, he's mad at them for killing him in the future. So he goes and consumes the planet and destroys all of them. Because, he's definitely not one to just forgive and forget. Although I will say I was surprised in What If Galactus Transformed Gambit, that one, to learn that he's very sentimental. Like, in the beginning, he created Ta 2, his homeworld Ta, and he created Ta-2, and he, it was the space station that he named after his first planet. And he's very sentimental in a way. He's full of regrets. So, and that surprised me kind of to learn that about him, because I didn't, you don't see him as this emotional being very often. Anger, absolutely. Other emotions like regret and being sad or lonely, you don't see that very often. So that was surprising, and that's something I learned from that comic. Like I said, I was surprised. The only other one I have is the Spider-Gwen comic. What If Galactus Transforms Spider-Gwen? And honestly, I don't learn anything about Galactus in that. I was kind of disappointed, because it was almost exclusively about Spider-Gwen on this planet, which was still cool, because she was scouting out the planet for Galactus. Still a cool story, but I didn't learn anything new about Galactus. Like, he was barely even in it. Like, yeah, he wasn't hardly in it. But anyway, so that's something else I learned about Galactus that I didn't really kind of know before. Or, I mean, I knew, but, not to that extent, I guess. So, and then we find this, like, there's this Cancerverse universe, which is an alternate universe where no one can die. And they kind of come to invade, this universe. And their ultimate weapon is like the, like this Galactus engine. And it's made from that version's Galactus's dead body. Which is weird because, of course, there's no death there, but yet Galactus died. And so the Celestials help, the heroes, and Galactus defeat them. And then we have the Chaos King, which we talked about before, too. He goes through and kidnaps all the gods, and Hercules actually transports Galactus to him in order to help defeat the Chaos King. And they end up building this device that can seal off Earth from the Chaos King, because he's just that powerful that they feel like they have to seal off the Earth in another dimension totally separate from him so that he can't get to it. But what they end up doing is they seal him off in that dimension instead. And Hercules is able to do that by sacrificing his newly found, again, godhood. So that was interesting that Galactus was, kind of instrumental in creating that machine. Um, let's see. Oh, and then he finds this artifact that's in on Asgard, and it's supposed to sate his hunger. And this it's kind of interesting because like, and this kind of was, which we've talked about this too, which Galactus consumed like the planetary power of Sakaar, thinking that because Silver Surfer thought that would sate his hunger, but all it did was make him hungry for more of the planetary power. And kind of there's this artifact that supposedly will sate his hunger, but Odin, he doesn't want to give it to Galactus because he's afraid in a way that won't work. And that so Galactus will still be free to consume, whatever planets he wants. So he kind of, holds it over his head, says, I'll tell you what, you can have this artifact when Asgard is no more, when it like, basically dies as a planet naturally. And I mean, Galactus is like billions of years old or whatever. Well, I don't know if that counts. Well, yeah, you know, however old, he's really old, so he can wait, however long it takes Asgard to fall, which, who knows when that is, but still, it's like nothing to Galactus. So Silver Surfer stays on Earth in order to guard it, basically, guard this artifact. Oh, so and then there's like these evil celestials that come, and he is able to cut down one of them, but then he's cut down, and so Franklin uses his powers to revive him, and together they defeat the evil celestials. And what he learns in the end, like I said, you wouldn't expect Galactus to have feelings like, you know, being lonely and stuff, but, look at his history. And this is another instance where he finds out, because he always thought he would be alone to see the destruction of the universe. And he finds out that Franklin will be there with him. Like, so he won't be alone in witnessing the destruction of the universe, which, poor Franklin. Like, he has to watch, everyone he loves and his whole world, universe die. And yeah, that would be rough. I mean, I wouldn't want that. Just like people who are like, oh, it would be cool to live forever. It's like, no, I don't think so. I mean, you'd watch all your family and your friends die, and eventually you'd be all alone because, everyone around you would always be dying, and yet you'd still be there. I mean, so eventually you just end up by yourself, or eventually you cut yourself off from everyone because it hurts too much to always watch everyone you love die. So, yeah, no, I wouldn't want to live forever, for sure. No thanks. So, the next thing is kind of, well, it's very weird. So he's forced into his own incubator by the Ultimates, Black Panther, Blue Marvel, Captain Marvel, sorry, Miss America, and that's what I meant to say. Captain Marvel and Miss America, not Captain America. But anyway, and then Spectrum, I believe. So he's forced into that by them, and he comes back out as a life bringer instead of a destroyer of life. And this, I want to say it's Lord Chaos and Master Order. I'm pretty sure those are the names. They kind of bring him before the Living Tribunal and say, hey, wait, this throws off the balance. He can't be a life bringer. He has to be a destroyer. And the Living Tribunal is like, no, it's fine. It's not, it doesn't mess with the balance too much. It's fine, whatever. And so they get upset and they merge along with their servant in between. That's his name. He serves both of them because he's in between them. He's in between chaos and order. So he merged with the three of them merge and become Logos, and they force Galactus to change back into a destroyer, which, he didn't want to be, because you see him constantly trying to get rid of his hunger. Like, it's a curse. It's not something that he wants. It's not something like he really is like, hey, this is great. It's something he has to do to survive, which is, an interesting dichotomy for a villain. And it kind of reminds me of like Morbius, who, needs blood in order to survive. Like, vampires, they need blood in order to survive, which, again, just interesting dilemma. So he becomes the destroyer again. And what happens, though, is Anti-Man, who he and Blue Marble actually got their powers at the same time. They were friends because a negative reactor went off, like exploded, and gave them their powers. They were trying to harness the power of the negative zone. And so they built this negative reactor in order to try to do that, but of course it didn't work, and yeah, that's how they got their power. So he sacrificed himself so that Galactus could be turned back into a Lifebringer. And then, Lord Chaos and Master Order and In Between all separated back, and a living tribunal, everything was fine after that. Silver Surfer actually asked Galactus to help defeat Ultron, Hank Pym, and by consuming this planet that was overrun by Ultron, bots, drones. And Galactus is like, I really don't want to do that. I mean, I'm a Lifebringer now. I'm not a destroyer. And, you can guess what happened after that, right? So he finally agrees, consumes the planet, and he turns back into a destroyer. I mean, obviously, if you're going to consume a planet again, then it's going to, go flip a switch. You're right back to where you were. So, unfortunately, they were able to, defeat Ultron, but unfortunately, that turned him back into what he didn't want to be. So, he ends up in the middle of, this battle between Dormammu and Mephisto, and I don't know where he gets the idea from, but he ends up absorbing mystical energy. Like, he completely absorbs, Dormammu, in a sense. And he then absorbs other mystical entities and other mystical energy and kind of goes insane and destabilizes reality. And so Doctor Strange, with the help of Eternity and the Living Tribunal, he is able to reset reality and fix it, but still craziness. Of course, it's comic books. And the last thing is the last major Galactus thing that I can think of is Black Winter. I have the action figure, which I didn't dig it out. I should have, but I didn't think about it. And I could have brought out my Dazzler action figure too, because she was the Herald of Galactus. But anyway, I had that action figure because I wanted Zabu. So that's the only non-X-Men action figures I bought because I wanted him. Just because I'm like, oh, a cat. That's so cute. So, yeah. Anyway. Well, and plus they had Morrow and Cable in that wave. So I'm like, oh, I want that. And then Kazar, he was actually in the animated series. So I'm like, okay, I'll take him too. And then the other three I didn't really want on it, but I wanted Zabu, and people were selling the BAMF for $80, and I thought, well, I already have 3. I bought those 3 on purpose, and so if I buy the other 3, that's $75. So I might as well just buy the other 3 figures. Okay, anyway, sorry, I'm getting off topic. So, so Black Winter. So Thor, Galactus goes to Asgard, goes to Thor, who is now at this point the Allfather, and he's like, I had a vision that you killed me. I don't know what's going on, but I need your help. And so what we learn is that Black Winter, he is like Galactus, but he's not, in terms of instead of consuming planets, he actually consumes universes. So he was responsible for destroying the 6 cosmos, supposedly. And so Galactus actually makes Thor his herald of thunder in order to try to defeat Black Winter. But then we find out that Black Winter's like, oh no, Galactus is my herald. And you're like, what the heck? Like, he thinks of Galactus as his herald. And you're like, holy cow. And that makes Thor really angry. And so he consumes all of Galactus's life force, or his energy, and uses his body, like, to set a trap. And it attracts Black Winter, and he uses the body and sets it off, like, as a bomb, destroying Black Winter. So, crazy story, of course, because it's comic books. Anyway, so that is the end of this video, end of this part 2 video, which, like I said, I think this is the longest stamp video I've done, and I didn't even do the other stamps or the other calendar in this video. I knew, it being Galactus, I knew it was going to take a while. I didn't think it would take this long, but yeah, we're now we're done. So anyway, yeah, we'll find out what we're gonna do now in the stamp series, because calendar, because we went through all 100 stamps and we still have half the year left, and it's a calendar, so obviously they have to put something else in there. So I don't know. We are gonna find out together. So I hope you will join me in the future for more videos, and until next time, bye.